Hello everyone and welcome to part 7 of my Mk1 Golf engine swap. In today's episode we finally are going to discover how much power the new setup is making on the dyno.
All my friends, hello rider.
Okay, so hopefully this is the beginning of the video where we are going to go to the dyno. I have arranged with my old school that it would be possible for me and the Golf to go there and do some dyno runs to see what kind of power my new setup is making. But before we are able to go there, there are some small things that need buttoning up, and some of them I have already done. For example, I have taken delivery of the gasket that needs to sit under the plate for the speedo cable. I bought that to prevent that my gearbox would be leaking from here. Additionally, I have also used some silicone to seal up the hole a little bit. So hopefully that seals up the gearbox from now on. And then in the previous episode I talked about this hose that was in really bad shape. So that has since then been replaced and got some new hardware. So that should also fix our coolant leak issues. The engine should be pretty much leak-free at this point. I still have to do some test drives to be sure, but most of the problems should be gone now. But that doesn't mean we are ready to go to the dyno yet, as I still want to do some adjustments to the carburetors. The engine still isn't running as smoothly as I would want it to be. And during the past few weeks I have been trying to get the carbs tuned a little bit better. I have been changing emulsion tubes, idle jets, I have been adjusting the idle mixture. None of that really made the car run any better. But yesterday I was looking into the balancing of the carbs again, and I noticed something that might be the cause of my issues. At idle I could very easily balance all 4 barrels of the carburetors. They were pulling the same amount of air. But once I would apply some throttle, I noticed that this side was getting way more airflow than this side. And I showed this problem to Emmanuel over at Classic Carbs UK, and he told me that my issue could be due to the throttle blades that aren't mounted correctly inside of the barrels. So what I think I'm going to do is take both of the carburetors back of the car and using my tuning manual that I borrowed from a colleague, we are going to make sure that the throttle blades are mounted correctly inside of the carburetors. After bruising my left hand, the next step is to remove the remaining fuel line and the throttle linkage before the carburetors come off with their intake manifold. With the twins removed from the engine, I'm going to remove their chokes and auxiliary venturis. They are locked in with a small screw, and once that is loosened, they slide right out. Now you might be wondering why I'm holding my carbs like little Simba in the circle of life. Well, the reason for that is that when looking through the carbs into the sunlight, it is possible to see how the throttle blades are aligned inside of the barrels. The goal is to align them in such a way that there is a minimal amount of light passing by the blades and that it is distributed symmetrically. I am starting by removing the blades first and then thoroughly clean the barrel with some brake clean and a Scotch Brite pad. According to the manual, one butterfly needs to be fitted through the slot in the spindle and then have its screws put in place without tightening them. Then the throttle needs to be opened and closed a few times to get the butterfly situated as centrally as possible before tightening the screws. After a quick check with the light proves to be okay, the other blade can be put in as well, following the same procedure. I did this for both the carbs, and once that was done, I also checked if the accelerator pumps were also working as they should. A last issue I needed to address was that one carburetor was missing the fitting for the vacuum port. At first I didn't think much of this, but it is quite possible that this is the reason why my other carb is pulling more air. I MacGyvered a fitting that came off another carb that I had laying around, so that we can give it a try. And with all of those improvements done, the package can be returned onto the engine. The carbs are installed again with the throttle blades adjusted, and this time I also have a second vacuum hose going to the first carburetor. Maybe that makes a difference in it running better, maybe not, we'll see. So now we are going to start the car, balance the carbs again. I'm also going to set the ignition timing, and then we'll see where we're at. After balancing the carbs, I also took a look at the ignition timing and I set it at a conservative 5 degrees at idle. Okay, so after aligning those throttle blades, I took a little test drive and I have to say that the car is performing better than it ever has. So that is awesome news, but what is even better is that my school contacted me today that it is okay to go to their dyno and do some test runs. We are going to check what kind of power my car is making currently, and we also are going to try adjusting the timing advance a little bit. Maybe we can also use their exhaust gas analyzing machine to dial in the carbs better, we'll see. But it is for sure going to be an exciting day. I have been waiting for today for so long and I'm really excited to know what kind of power the Golf is going to be putting down. And speaking of waiting, I'm currently waiting on Jasper, who is going to come along with me. And then once he gets here, we are going to drive to our old school together. Today we are lucky to be at Thomas More Campus de Naaier in Sint-Katelijne-Waver. They have invited us to their automotive test center where we can finally put my freshly swapped Golf to the test. A couple of years ago I graduated and obtained my bachelor's degree in automotive technology right here at Thomas More. This entire building is dedicated to educating petrolheads that are motivated to turn their passion into their profession. Within the bachelor's degree, all subjects regarding automotive technology are covered, starting from the basics in electricity and mechanics, up to everything to do with engine management and hybrid and electric vehicles. Apart from the bachelor's degree, 2 years ago they also started with a graduate degree program in which students are educated with a lot more focus on the hands-on experience, which is obtained at their own dedicated workplace where they will learn directly from the experts themselves. Within each of these degrees, students are allowed to choose a specific specialization track like motorcycles, commercial vehicles, and even motorsport engineering for the bachelor degrees. For many years now, the automotive technology department at Thomas More has been an established name in the Belgian education. If you are interested in getting a top-notch automotive education in this awesome facility, you can check out the details to all of this in the description below. Now, as you can imagine, this building is equipped with a lot of top-notch equipment. Examples of this are the assortment of test vehicles, engine dynos, and what we are using today, the rolling road. This state-of-the-art Maha 4-wheel drive dyno got installed 2 years ago as the centerpiece of the education. And today we are using it to fine-tune my little Golf. All of this will be done under the supervision of Thomas, who is one of the lecturers here. We are going to strap the car down from its control arms, but it looks like my fancy GTI lip is in the way, so I'm quickly taking it off. With the front tensioned up, the same can be done in the rear. Now the car is completely suspended, but we're not done yet. In order to align the car, the rollers are moved under the rear wheels. Then we are using all 4 rollers to perfectly align the car on the dyno. With the alignment done, it is not uncommon to notice some slack in the chains as the car's position might have changed slightly. Now the vehicle settings can be entered in the software, and then it is time for our first run. Thomas explained me that we are going to do a run in 4th gear and that the rollers will put more load on the wheels than I would experience on the normal road. That way the run will last longer than a normal pull in 4th gear, which will make the results easier to analyze. With that in mind, let's give it a go. And this is the result of our first run. We have 97 horsepower at the wheels and 120 horsepower at the crank. Awesome figures, but what is even nicer is that the torque curve looks pretty flat, making the power band very linear. With the first run out of the way, we are going to try getting more power out of the engine. I know my ignition advance is set very conservatively, so instead of 5 degrees we are going to move it to 8 degrees at idle. That should give us a maximum of 30 degrees of advance at higher RPM, which is what is advised for these engines. More timing advance should result in more power, so let's see what she does. The result is a slight power increase, but nothing dramatic, so we are probably set in that department. Next we are going to take a look at the mixture of the carbs, starting with taking out the spark plugs. The spark plugs can be a good indicator of what is going on in each individual cylinder, but in this case they all look very similar, which is good news. So next we are going to take a look at the mixture in general by hooking up my Innovate AFR gauge and doing a pull.
En nu geeft de plankgas die en dat gaat 17, 15 en vanaf 70 gaat het de deur naar de 12. Voilà, juist op de 3000 toeren.
En nu begint het te gaan.
Maar vanaf 6, 2700. Ja, het blijft continu 11 en half. 5000 toeren, 12. Dus bovenin is goed, maar...
So what this run has told us is that the car is indeed running lean in the area where I felt some hesitation. It stops at about 2700 RPM, and that is where the main jet comes in and regulates the mixture to an AFR of 12. So next, off camera, I adjusted my floats a bit higher, which resulted in a slightly richer mixture through the entire rev range. The dip in the mixture, near 2500 RPM, I tried to get out by switching to a richer emulsion tube. That resulted in this run.
Ja, dat is toch beter,
Beter, ja.
13,5, 14.
Nou ja, nu pakt
Dat
het
is
op.
schandelijk, hè. Weet je, die kunnen we niet op
Ja,
platter. Het is wel hier even armer.
nu gaat nog wel een pak rijken.
Hij gaat zo nog een pak raken, misschien is dat wel te rijk. Zie je dus? Kunnen we eens exact hetzelfde.
That is already much better, but now we are going to do a final run with the air filters on, which should enrich the mixture even more. Now this final run I didn't film the AFR gauge, but Jasper and Thomas told me that the AFRs stayed beautifully under 14 and that both the power and torque curve straightened out even more. So I would call that mission accomplished. I am very curious to how the car will drive on the road now, so it is time to clear up the dyno room and test our new tune on the streets. I think it is safe to say that today's video was an absolute success. The Golf is driving the best it ever has. It is pulling strong, the AFRs are great, and it is just a riot to drive. It is everything that I could wish for. It was really nice to go to my old school again because I have a lot of very good memories of that place, and I think it is really incredible that they were kind enough to give us some time on the dyno. And if you are motivated to pursue a career in the automotive sector, I would definitely recommend studying automotive technology at Thomas More. I had 3 of the greatest years there. I learned a lot, and most of my car friends I met over there, and we just had a lot of fun during all that time. They accept Belgian students but also international students. They have a lot of courses in English, so really any one of you could do that education if you want. And if you have any questions for me, for example, you can send me a DM and I'll gladly help you if there are any concerns. So that is going to be the end of today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider giving me a like and subscribing. The next episodes are going to be about the BMW, because I started with something that I can't undo, so there is no turning back. But that is for the next episode. That doesn't mean that there are going to be no more videos on the Golf, as there are still some things that need buttoning up. But for now, I think I'm going to concentrate on finishing the BMW, so that is what you can expect in a next video. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.